Welcome to the sixth Q&A session for the channel. Before I respond to the questions, so I want to point out that there's 3 days left for the GKaiser Kickstarter project. We have reached our 1,000 goal and exceed it right now by $5. So if you would like to have a screen credit in all the episodes that are created, or get a t-shirt or the DVD that has lots of the behind the scenes footage of what goes into making the show, you have got 72 something hours as of right now to make those pledges. And the more money we get, the better the final product really will be, because we'll have more money for more costumes and more props and things like of that nature. I do want to say that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes for the GKaiser production that is not really seen for obvious reasons, but we've done our second round of auditions. We've cast many of the roles. There's still some roles we're still trying to cast. For example, the hero. It's like the funniest thing. We've had a really difficult time trying to find a lead. Someone to be the Joe Everyman, the hero, the unlikely hero. I'm confident we'll eventually figure out something, but right now it's sort of a big deal. We'll begin production next month, and this will be something that's completed by August. I'm not going to say the exact reason why it has to be completed by August, but there's a reason, and I will announce it once things are a little bit more official. But just know that this is something that is definitely going to be finished relatively soon. It'll be a new show for this channel. So there'll be the two main flagship titles, I guess, will be the RPG Fanatic show and the Death Fest Ninja GKaiser show. So I hope that some of you will make some more pledges, help us out a little bit more. And thank you to those who have made pledges. I really appreciate it. It's making the show a reality because of you. I pretty much maxed myself out with my credit limit to get the equipment, and we had nothing left for budget for the costumes and stuff. Let's get on to the questions here. Trojan Homer has asked me many questions. What I think of the game Dwarf Fortress. Have not played it. I've heard lots of good things about it. Haven't played it myself. Lately, if I'm not reviewing it, I'm not playing it. I don't have much time for leisure anymore. So if you haven't seen a review for it, I guess the game did come out several years ago. I only heard about it recently, though. But I have not played it. I have not played Dungeon Crawl either. It's something else, Dungeon Crawl, right? I haven't played that one yet. Let's see. Shintai123, thanks for answering my questions again. Number one, first question you have. Have you ever had a narrative for a game completely ruin a game for you? For you, it was Final Fantasy X, even though the gameplay was very solid. You still really disliked that game because of the narrative to the point where you can't enjoy the gameplay anymore. With computer RPGs, I don't know. Usually the story is pretty bad. The gameplay also is pretty bad as well. Perfect example would be The Legend of Alandor. Bad. I'm reviewing. That's the game I'm currently reviewing. It's a bad game. You'll see in the review for it. But there's been games that I think the storyline isn't that great. Final Fantasy VIII comes to mind a bit. It was still higher than above average for a game, but there was just some points that I just felt it kind of dragged on a little bit too much. I think around the missile silo part of the storyline, I just got really bored of the game. Second question, I'm trying to get into roguelike RPGs. They seem very hard to get into. Can you recommend an easy one to get into? The ones I've reviewed, Dark Death Evilman versus Thin Losing Ranger, or Losing Ranger versus Dark Death Evilman. That's a good one to get into. Azure Dreams, of course, and Magical Dungeon, Tornico, The Last Hope. That's a good one. All the Magic Dungeons ones, except for I believe the the Tower of Draga, Nightmare of Daruga themed game. That's Druga, or Druga, how you pronounce it. Avoid that game like the plague. That game's hard. I'm having to force myself to play it sporadically because that game gets on my nerves so much. The other ones I would definitely try to check them out. Those games really are meant for people in the age of I would say 10 to 16 to play. So they're not terribly challenging games. So those are definitely the type to get into. A lot of the ones that are created by Western developers aren't really aimed at young children. They're aimed at people who are older, and they're a little bit more hardcore. Third question you have is, out of the current 3 current gen consoles, which do you want the most? I would have to go with PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 in that order. PlayStation 3 because most of the computer RPGs for consoles have been coming out for PS3. There are some that are unique to the 360, and 360 of course has the indie downloads as well. There's the Breath of Death, which I really like to play, which is an indie game that sort of is a homage to the old style of console RPGs, like the original Dragon Quest and stuff. Of course, the title is a parody of Breath of Fire, so I want to definitely check that out. But I don't have a 360, so I can't really download it. So, I also want to play the Scott Pilgrim game, which I've yet to get a chance to play. It's like River City Ransom meets the Simpsons game, and it looks awesome. I wish I could definitely play that. When I Simpsons game, I mean the Simpsons arcade game, which I think is one of the best arcade games ever made. Let's see. Next question. I'm just filtering through some of the discussions people have been having. Trojan Homer has asked me another question. Have you ever thought of doing movie reviews? Fantasy, sci-fi, classic, maybe. There are people that do movie reviews. The Angry Video Game Nerd does a lot of reviews of fantasy. No, not really fantasy, but like sci-fi and horror and stuff like that. And of course, there's that guy with the glasses. So I don't want to be a little bit redundant. I also have to concern myself with YouTube. Some of the big labels, big studios, they are really automatic DMCA notifications on stuff, and I really would rather not have to deal with that. I'm planning to do reviews of various Tokusatsu Japanese superhero type of shows, those that I can get away with without having them yell at me and scream at me and cause problems. So look forward to that soonish. Between the RPG Fanatic and GKaiser and work, it's a lot of work. A lot less time to devote to another show. But I would like to eventually do some more of those, because I have to do a lot of research into Tokusatsu to make the type of show that I'm making for GKaiser. And while I'm not going to say I'm an expert on everything, I do have some knowledge in this genre. And I've been sporadically collecting DVDs of various shows, and I would definitely love to talk about that sort of thing. Do I currently own any new generation consoles? No. All my money has really been gone into trying to get better equipment for the show. So, sorry. I'm kind of afraid, like, by the time I actually have the money for new generation consoles, they're gonna be outdated. If I pay like $800 for a new system, it's a bit crazy. I name my 3 favorite author or writers of any genre. Oh, I need Patricia Reed. She does comical fantasy stuff. I really like her Enchanted Forest novels. The Enchanted Forest Chronicles. C.S. Lewis, of course. Chronicles of Narnia. Major influence in my fiction writing. Twilight Chronicles, which be renaming Panamone Chronicles to avoid association with a certain vampire novel. The whole talking animal, talking characters sort of thing, that's very much inspired by Chronicles of Narnia. Let's see, I can't pronounce his name. Slayers. Hajime Kanzaka. I'm a huge fan of the Slayers novels. Now, a lot of people have seen the anime show, which is really great too. But the novels are hilarious. I've got several of them that were printed by Tokyo Pop. Actually, I won a contest several years back when they had just launched their Web 2.0 version of their website. I was featured on the front page because my very early draft of Twilight Chronicles reached the #1 for fiction. And I got featured on the front page, and we had a little panel from GKaiser's comic that was also on the front page of Tokyo Pop. And they asked me, what manga would you like? And I was like, manga? But you guys have some Slayers novels, right? Could you send me some of those? And I got some of those. I'm a big fan of the Slayers novels. Who else? A third who's really influential to me. No, I guess I was a third. So yeah, those are probably my favorites, I guess I would say. I've read, of course, various other writers as well, growing up. But I guess these probably had the most influence on my style as a writer. I'm a big fan of comical fantasy. I'm not sure what it is exactly about the genre that I enjoy so much, but I'm sure if I really dissected it and thought about it, I could figure it out. Next question. Are you inspired by any movie directors or movies in particular that inspires you to do your current web series / documentary work? I'm obviously inspired by various GKaiser. It's a superhero show in the style of Japanese, the henshin hero stuff. But Super Robot. I'm a big fan of the super robot genre, and there's going to be a lot of influence from Gainax's work and the various work from like Gundam G, for example, that are going to be incorporated into some of the shots for GKaiser. So in some ways, it's going to be it's a battle show, but it's more like a battle manga super robot sort of thing going on. And in that regard, Scott Pilgrim is also a bit of an inspiration, because I was like, I wanted to do it with that visual style before I saw Scott Pilgrim. But once I saw Scott Pilgrim, it was so much easier to this is how they did it there. I wonder how I could do something like that, but make it a little bit more cooler and more closer to the original shows that this was based off of. Because Scott Pilgrim the movie was based off of the graphic novel, which in turn was inspired by various anime and video games and stuff like that. And my route is going to be a little bit more direct to that source. Directors. I'm inspired by, I guess, Robert Rodriguez. Who isn't? I like the way that he edits certain things, the incorporation of the jump cuts, and the creativity that has to be involved with shooting, low budget. He doesn't do low budget now, but a lot of his earlier stuff was shot very inexpensively. And on that note, Kevin Smith, of course, I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith's work. A lot of people don't like all his films. I like all his films, including Mallrats. I thought Mallrats was great. He doesn't direct as much anymore, but I'm also a big fan of George Lucas. Very deeply inspired by some of the work that he's done. I even liked, the Ewok adventure films. I have to reluctantly admit, and I loved Howard the Duck, the movie, when it first came out when I was a kid. And there's a couple homages to Howard the Duck actually in GKaiser. So they're pretty obvious that they're homages to Howard the Duck, but that's because I really loved it and I wanted to. Maybe I can, have a shout out to other people who are fans of it, and maybe other people will check it out because they saw GKaiser. It's gotten a lot of bad reviews because of certain choices, but I think it was not that bad when it came out. It really wasn't. At least for the target audience, it was, as kids. What else can I say? Oh, of course, Walt Disney. Huge source of inspiration. I've been reading every autobiography I can get my hands on for the past several years about Walt Disney's life. I'm deeply inspired by the guy. And very much going through his early films, especially his Silly Symphony shorts, which I did grow up watching. I'm old enough that we could actually watch this stuff on television. which you can't anymore because the Disney Channel has become... the Disney Channel now is like... What's a good way to describe it? It's like, imagine Fox back in the late 90s, but deprived of whatever soul it had, you know, from shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I don't understand why the hell the Disney Channel now has so many non-Disney products on it. It's just silly. And some of the animation that they've done, I haven't seen like the recent animated, the 2D feature, The Princess and the Frog, but I've seen some of their TV animations that they've done, and I just don't enjoy them. I don't enjoy them at all, really. And I think they're of inferior quality compared to the original shorts. There's several reasons I could get into for why. It's not just about the animation, you know, production values. It also has to do with the plot, narratives. They're just not as good as some of this original stuff, which is sad because this stuff was made like in the 20s and 30s. And, you know, almost 100 years later, they're not as... They've lost that direction, which is sad. So, those are my inspirations, I suppose. Enjoy a lot of 80s films, but I don't really follow the director's work that much. A lot of... it's strange for me because there's a lot of people like Spielberg, for example. I like a lot of things that he's produced, but I don't feel super passionate about a lot of the stuff that he's directed. And he's definitely a good director, just the certain subjects that he's chosen to direct. Like, I believe Schindler's List is one of the things he directed. You know, these aren't stories that really grip me. They're not really my thing. They're good stories. They're just, I'm not really the target audience for that. I'm not into the depressing, you know, sort of thing. That's taking way too long to answer this question. Next one by Trojan Homer again. Find the protagonist in Final Fantasy games appealing. Sure. I haven't played Final Fantasy 13, which is what you're talking about. Titus doesn't bother me that much. I do think that Final Fantasy 10 was one of the weaker Final Fantasies, plot-wise, but it just, you know, it's hard to constantly try to reinvent the wheel with that series. Eventually it gets a little stale. You also wanted to say wanted to say a fantastic channel, your video blog, my series, Man in the Arena, is very inspiring and emotionally honest. I really would see people who do admit their failings or bad luck without ever losing sight of their dream and ambition. Hope you achieve huge success in the future. Thank you. Yeah, I do the blog because first I want people to know, you know, about me, and secondly because when I know that I'm going to be very successful eventually, and hopefully soon. Once that happens, I don't want people to get the idea that, you know, things just sort of clicked for me and it was this overnight success story, which it hasn't been. Now I know I have like 6 months of backlog that I haven't revealed the videos. There's a lot of very interesting things I think that have happened within these past 6 months, and some of the things I'll also be talking about is during the production of GKaiser. Lots of trials and tribulations, I would say. So I will be releasing those. I might release them I think I'll release them after we start the editing process of GKaiser. That's when I will start releasing some more of them. And I want people to know that, you know, it takes a lot of effort to overcome things. Like, some people are under this opinion that, you know, you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth. That's the only way that you're ever going to, you know, be able to do things like this. And that's just not true. You have to work for it. And there's different ways to work. You can work for somebody else, and that's perfectly good occupation to have. Some people don't want to have their own businesses. Some people are content to not reach for something that's higher and much more difficult to achieve. Like, for example, I want to build a great studio, have, you know, hundreds and hundreds and maybe even thousands of employees at some point in the future. Most people don't want to deal with that, because they don't really just have anything they want to do that requires them to have that many employees or even one employee. And it's all about what you want to actually do with your life. And there's some people like me who, if they listen to what everybody else said, because they're like, you know, you can't do this, because they personally have no desire to do something like that. and they can't understand people like me who really want to do stuff like that, who want to do something else, basically. So I want the people that are like me, who really want to achieve something, to have something to, I can watch this video blog and I can see that, things didn't happen easy, but they eventually worked out because they just kept trying, just never gave up, and kept trying to come up with creative solutions to problems. I think that's important for people to know. I personally enjoy a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff with other filmmakers, and I guess I wanted to give something back. So I already kind of know that it's going to work out, and that's part of the reason why the video blog is there, is so that people can see that there's no such thing as really as an overnight success with when you're trying to start with nothing and build something great. Questions. I'm going to ignore the stuff where I've already commented on, because it's just eating up time. I don't want this video to drag on too much. Wicked Rob 1 asked me, what are you looking forward to next year? This is what I'm hoping for next year. I'm hoping that we have at least 3 episodes of GKaiser finished. I'm hoping that I can do a review of the Saga series. I'm hoping that I can somehow get another copy of Xenogears that's in good condition, because I don't want to pay like $80 for something that has a bunch of scratches all over the case and stuff. And review Xenogears, so I really want to do Xenogears. I also hope that I will be starting have a company, March Studios, but I want to build a physical studio for people to work in, and to be our creative headquarters for doing stuff, because I also want to open up, I have some other ideas for publishing of novels, and publishing of graphic novels, and publishing of doing some animation work. So I pretty much I have a 50-year plan, basically, of what I want to do and how I want to do it. I realize that I don't know of many other YouTube partners who have even got a small studio, but I think that if the show becomes even half as successful as I believe that it can be, I believe I'll be able to start building a studio. And it may not be like the only studio we ever have. It might just be our starter studio. Eventually I want to have, based on my own Skywalker Ranch, but I'm probably going to have to build up to that. So in a year, I hope that I can start looking for space for our studio. Mr. HP25 asked me, would I accept a donation copy of Neverwinter Nights 2 Gold Edition? I would. I don't have a P.O. box yet for people to send that sort of thing to. And where I'm living now, I may not live here in the next couple months as well. Over the next few months, I need to get a P.O. box anyway. So once I get that set up, I will, and we have a new website. Since the current website is gone, I'll put that up there. If you want to make a donation, you can do so with games. And we really appreciate that. Edward 555 asked me if I ever played action games, action RPGs like X-Men Legends or Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I've heard great things about them. I haven't played any of the Marvel Alliance games myself. Reason being, it's going to sound a little sentimental. I had a girlfriend I was madly in love with like 3 years ago, and it was probably the longest relationship I've ever been in. And she got me this a copy of Marvel Ultimate Alliance for Christmas, and I know because she told me. But we broke up, and she returned the game before she ever gave it to me. Which is, you know... Do you want to know how I honestly feel about it? I got her the lingerie that she asked me to get her, and I got nothing. So, except for being broken up with a few days later. So, I just haven't been able to motivate myself to go anywhere near one of those games. Because I just keep thinking about, that. I'm over her. It's just, brings back some bad memories that I don't want to deal with. I do need to eventually review it because I do hear good things about it. I'm a Marvel fan myself. I should really play it. just have not got around to it. And last question, Piano Man Freak asked me, do I play any of the Pokemon games? Played the first one, or I guess 3, that had one game with 3 different versions. Played the first one. I eventually need to do a review of it, because I think it's an important game in the history of computer RPGs. And the reasons should be obvious, really. It's a huge franchise now, and it's inspired a lot of other mechanics in similar games. But no, I don't play any of the current ones. They're not. I don't really think that they're aimed at my age demographic. So these are all the questions. If you have any more, just put them into the comments below. Sorry for. I think I have a bit of a cold coming on. Until next time.